Hey guys, welcome to this is gonna be episode 2 of In the Zone. I am to my this side of me is Michael. You can't see him right now, but he's there. So Michael, say hello.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Is there anything you'd like the audience to know about you before we start this podcast?
I mean, I'm one of Nick's friends from high school. Uh, I'm in FFA. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay, so on the docket for today, talking politics. We're gonna stay in reason here. That we're gonna be like a little bit reasonable here. We're gonna talk about the uh, shifts from conservative to Democrat in both parties at this point, because I feel like the yardstick, for determining where you stand in the overall viewpoint of either liberal, conservative, or Republican. I feel like that's been shifted completely. So I think we should talk about that, talk about how
Yes.
the parties have changed, and what they're looking forward to doing, how Trump is doing, all the good stuff. So that's going to be
Yeah.
part one. Part two is going to be FFA, and part three is going to be talking about growing up in the Butts family, and a family that is, let's just say pretty big. I think that's a pretty accurate statement.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, Michael, well, we need to establish what you are in terms of on the side. Are you Democratic, Republican, conservative, liberal?
Well,
Like,
I'm a conservative, and I really just hold freedom, and individual liberty above all. So I think I'm really on the libertarian side of the spectrum, but I'm also right leaning conservative.
all right. So, do you think that there's been I think that there is, but I want to hear your opinion on it. Do you think that there's been a shift in the fact that in the Democratic Party, at least, since I myself, for those of you who don't know, I am a conservative Democrat on like the middle left side of things. But at this
Yeah.
point, I feel like the issue with this is the fact that even though I'm the middle left, there's such like a shift that I feel like I'm almost a Republican at this point. That
I
should never be. But do you think that that has actually happened now?
oh I really agree with you right there because I think the liberal side is and the Democrat side is just going further and further left off the deep end. It's becoming less democratic and more just socialist.
Yeah,
And
but do you think that that's necessarily can be a bad thing? Do you think that that could actually work for this country? I mean, I think that. Let me just say my thoughts on this. Okay, so I don't think
yeah,
socialism. I think socialism is the best thing in terms of principle, but it's never been run effectively. But at the same time, they've always had garbage leaders at the top. I think if we're in America, I think socialism it's gonna work a little bit better than what people expect it would be. Like I think socialism. This is probably the best country that it would be running. Now that being said, I'd still rather have the country as we are now. But like, I
for
feel like it
sure.
wouldn't be that bad considering all things considered. What do you think, Michael? Do you think that socialism
Well,
could have a place in this country?
I really would hate to see a world where the United States was a socialist country, and I feel like if I lived in that country myself, I'd feel like there was a cage around me. I don't think I think a lot of other people would feel the same way, but they just don't realize it yet. But socialism puts a cap on every single citizen's abilities to to go further and better themselves, and that's not what the United States wants, and that's not what our founding fathers wanted. We want everyone to be able to push themselves as far as they can and to create a better world for all of us.
But the problem, the big issue with socialism has always been the fact that even though in concept it's perfect, it's never been run effectively. So like for those of you who don't know what socialism is, it's basically where the government help me out here, Mike. It's basically where the government puts a cap on everything economically, but everyone gets everything that they. So it's like all the fruit would be
Yeah,
spread out, all the money would be spread out. Like everything would be spread out,
exactly.
but the government puts a cap on the spreading, if that makes sense.
Everybody would have equal incomes no matter what they did, no matter how hard they worked. And I mean, it wouldn't probably be actually equal, but I believe like socialism is going to take at least 70% of your wealth and taxes at its full, like whenever it's a full socialist country. And
But like the issue with socialism hasn't actually been the concept, because the concept is everyone works to get everyone else's, stuff, but like no one actually does the work, like, if that makes sense, because in other countries like Russia, whenever they tested it, like no one would actually work for other people, because why would you want to feed another person's family, So people
exactly,
would stop working. But I
that's
think,
what happens, and then everybody goes hungry,
yeah,
and the
and then
country runs out of money.
yeah, so then everything just goes to garbage just like that, So it's like I feel like this is the country, if you're gonna test it to see if it truly has any place in the world, I think this would be the country, because let's be honest here, there's a lot of hard workers in this country, and there's a lot of people who make a lot more money than other things. So like, let me give an example. So I remember I had this argument with my parents. I think LeBron would be worth, 500 million in excess. I would pay for him, because he doesn't only just play basketball for you, make you a contender. He sells a bunch of revenue as well, like sales, merchandise, tickets.
Yeah.
He does a lot for the actual, and he does for the community. So I think if you paid 500 million for an athlete, he's worth it, odds are, in your opinion, because he's gonna make you that money tenfold.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But my parents seem to think no one is worth that money, because it's like they're always arguing. It's like, I work a hard job. It's like my dad is like, I work a 12 to 5 job, or whatever the amount is, like 9 to 5, and I always work my butt off every day. And then you just see LeBron, who's doing something that anyone could do, albeit better than anyone he thinks has done it, other than like the all-time. But he says that, like, if you compare what you have to do, like it's simple compared to what he has to do. He believes it's like, he says that no one should be worth that amount of money, no matter how much work they put in. Because he said that's such a large amount of money that you can't ever justify giving 500 million to someone and setting them up for generations to come. That's really deadly. But I think that with socialism, if we were to do that, the athletes wouldn't make as much money as they would want to. And I think overall, I think some qualities would dip in the country, but I think, in terms of revenue, there would be a lot less homeless people. There would be a lot less veterans who are having issues. I think that socialism, albeit would be worse than we are right now, it wouldn't be as much worse as people think, in my opinion.
I mean, the thing is you're right. Like there'd be a lot less homelessness, and there'd be a lot less, poor people or whatever. But that's only gonna last so long with a country full of people who don't want to work because their salaries are so low, and then once you get to the point that the country has run out of money to give their own people, and they're gonna start running out of food to give their own people, and then it's gonna go back to even worse than it ever started with.
So do you think that the left side of things is doing things wrong? What would you do differently if you were on the left side of things? If you were like, you said you're a libertarian, but you also said that you're on the right side of things. You want to see some change, but you don't want to see the bad types of change, if that makes sense. So if you were on the socialist side of things, what would you fix about the actual issue?
Well, I think Nancy Pelosi herself needs to center the party, because right now the entire Democratic Party has gone so far away. There used to be a line directly on each side of the line was the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. The Republican is still right on that line, but the Democrat Party has gone way left.
Yeah, so like I think as a Democratic myself, I've been looking at a lot of these issues. It's like, I used to be in support of these things, but like they're just so far like on one side, So like, let me give you an example, right? So illegal immigration, like everyone. I remember this in the Democratic, what's the term? The Democratic Convention. I don't know if that's the
DNC.
Yeah, and so what ended up happening is the woman who was doing the questionnaire stuff, she asked, how many of you, raise your hand if you have a way to not influence, but incorporate, that's the word, incorporate illegal immigrants into your country. And everyone raised their hand. It was like, I can understand it, like if they're coming to a country that's, supposed to be for freedom, supposed to be for a chance at a better life. I can understand. I think every person should have, a way to be a citizen, regardless of where they're from, regardless of how they came into the country. And I
Unless
don't think
they're
they should be denied that opportunity. I feel like they should be given a chance. But I don't think that they should be given the right immediately as they get into the country. And that's what everyone was always like, yo, we got to do that. You know, it's like, that's the
I completely agree.
I feel like, as stupid as this is going to sound, I think that Kanye actually has the best politics, you know, for the middle Democrat side. You know, like,
I
he's the
agree.
closest one to everything, you know. So, like, another thing would be abortion, you know, like, he said that it's like he should make it like stricter, you know, but like after like 15, 20 weeks, because at that point the baby still can't think. But like he said after that, he said you should have the kid at that point. He said that. I was like, that's reasonable, you know, like I think we can all agree that something such as abortion is a touchy topic because of all the things that come from it, you know, like you could get a situation where someone gets raped and then has the kid. And at that point you're like,
Yeah.
okay, they should have the choice. You know, but like if you have an issue where you're just like 8 people, you're like just going to town on people over and over and over. It's like at that point, just have the kids. You know, like it's your own fault for that happening. You know, it's one thing.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't planned, or you had like you were being safe, but it didn't work out, or you, as I mentioned, you got raped. But like, I feel like if you get to a certain point, you should have to have the kid. You know, and that was his thought process. I was like, this isn't that bad, you know, compared to what people think this guy is going to be. You know, he's not actually looking like a joke, you know, like I fully expected him to be just an absolute idiot with all these politics, you know. He's not doing that bad because I remember he used in that abortion topic, he used the thought about whenever him and Kim Kardashian had Northwest, which is what they called their kid. And he said that they were really considering an abortion. And his father was like, you got to get the kid aborted. But he wanted to have the kid, and so did Kim. So they actually decided, you know, like, this is our choice. We should have this kid. You know, so like, I feel like stuff like that, you should be given the choice if you want. You know, what do you think about that, Michael? Do you think that the politics are, you know, there should be a fine line between liberal, conservative, and then right side? Do you think that that line should be more defined now? Or do you think that the way that we're going is not going to be?
I think the line's just going to get more and more blurry as the liberals go further and further left, because there's so many people like you who are moderate Democrats who are starting to lean apparently to the right because of all these views that and all these things that these higher liberals are saying, and it just sounds crazy. And I mean, I don't think people should have, like, I know abortion is a very touchy topic, but I don't think that taking away someone else's life is worth 9 months. I don't think, like, it's 9 months of your life compared to someone else's whole life.
Yeah. But at the same time, a decision like that, you know, it can completely change a person's life having a kid, you know, like, so the average person spends around $1 million on their kid, you know, through the first 20 years of their life. That's not including government, you know, like that's not including college and the government spending, you know, the taxes and stuff on having the kid. That's not including that. That's $1 million. Imagine being 19 years old and having.
I thought it was like,
you know,
I mean,
hold on, wait. I'm going to have to pause it for a second. I need to go clean my clothes. Give me a second.
Okay.
Okay, so guys, I just had an issue with laundry. So we're back after, 2-minute break? So,
yeah.
Man, where were we? I remember we were talking about abortion. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I was just saying that it's really just not worth it to take someone else's life away for 9 months of your comfort.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, like, again, it can literally ruin a person's life to have a kid, you know. It could set them back a long time, you know. So
that's a stigma.
Yeah.
That's a stigma that people like you say, and people like other people say. Like, there's a lot of women who are carrying a baby get told that exact thing and then end up killing their baby because they were told that exact thing. You know, like people told my aunt to do that. I have a cousin who's 1 year younger than me, like, and has been my best friend since we were little. And they were pressured to get an abortion, and, you know, because they thought, oh, it could ruin our life or whatever, but it was the best thing that ever happened to them, actually, you know?
I feel like if you're gonna have a kid and you're not gonna abort it, you better be fully prepared to raise the human. That's always gonna be an issue with having a kid in general. Like if you're not fully prepared to bring a living kid into the world, you shouldn't have it. Like, or you should play
Exactly.
it safe, or you should, like again, as bad as it sounds, like I think we can both agree, abortion is immoral. Like regardless of the situation, it's immoral to kill a person.
I completely
Especially
agree.
before especially if they're not given a chance in life. Like
Yeah.
I think we can both agree that it's immoral, but I think it should be up to the person's choice. Like we can debate it all we want, but we're never gonna have that situation, or at least I'm not. And I don't know about you. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but like I feel like I'm never. But like again, back to Kanye, he's like giving the middle grounds of everything while still being true to the democratic. So like he's talking
Yeah.
about how we're not gonna do a socialist government, but we're gonna have a little bit more influence than what is right now in the economy, which I feel like it could help the economy to have some government stability right now. Like
Well,
have some money
and that's what.
going in. Have some people but helping the market with specific market like oil. Oil right now was going down. But because the government started to step in, is like we need to help this market right here. It started to
Yeah.
go back up to where it normally is. Like if that makes sense. Like I feel like he's actually not that far off of what I believe as a human being, as a democratic person,
Yeah. And what you said about Kanye West interfering, if he were president, interfering in the economy or whatever. I mean, if you look at our economy the past 4 years, you can see the interference that Donald Trump has done in our economy that has just boosted it. So it's not really a socialist type thing. It's really just
no, but like the socialist one is like full on. We're going in everything, like that.
Exactly.
That's the problem with the fully left side is the fact that it's like we're all in on this economy. Like we're touching everything. We're instead of just like wiping down something like every once in a while, they're just like touching everything, wiping everything down over and over and over. Like
exactly. Oh, that's your small business. Oh, it's actually half mine. You know? I mean, yeah, and then that's another thing. Small businesses don't get the. I'm in my dad's small business right now talking to you, and small businesses in a socialist government would not get the say to do what they want with themselves.
Yeah.
And that would just cause it would not make growth for those businesses, because how is the government going to know whenever they're in Washington or whatever?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like he's talking about intervening with like the big boys, like Exxon Mobil and stuff like that. Like intervening a little bit to help them along. Like if he helps, like as much as small businesses help big businesses and big businesses help small business. Like he's helping the whole country if he helps like one or two sections of the country.
Exactly. If he helps.
As much as people are hating on Trump, like I feel like he's actually not done that bad of a job. Even though I'm a Democrat, even though I'm supposed to hate the man. I mean, he's serving the country well, in my opinion. Like as much as people are roasting him about like how he's handling COVID, which he has not handled it the best. Let's be honest here. I don't think he's handled it as best as he could have. He could have helped it earlier. He could have, enforced it earlier or enforced it like later on when like people were going out to protest without masks. Like if you're going out to protest 6 feet away, all that stuff, or just don't go out to protest anymore. Like even though he would have looked
that's still something that he doesn't believe in.
Yeah, it's like even though he would have made him like perceived as more of a villain than he already is. Like it would have helped. And look where we are now. Like I don't think people are saying it because I don't think people want to say it. But the reason there's been a second spike is because people went out to protest. I don't think that if you're gonna protest, do something like they did in Michigan. Even though they protested the government and all that stuff, they had the right to do that, and they at least stayed 6 feet away, and people had their masks on. Like if you're gonna protest, do it right. Like be safe with it. Especially in a time where there's a literal pandemic, a literal virus going around and killing people like crazy.
There's two different ways to look at how Donald Trump has handled the COVID pandemic also, because you said, I mean, and you tried to get me to agree with you on him not handling it the best way. But I really think, every other country their presidents have been putting fear into them just as their media has been, making them worry about it. Whenever Donald Trump, he he has been an anti-masker. I'm an anti-masker because I hold individual freedom above all. I'm not going to go near someone that could catch this virus, and that someone who could catch this virus and die from it. I don't think they should be out. They should be at home, and that's what everyone can probably agree on. But also Donald Trump, I think he's handled this better than anyone, because who was the first person that you heard say hydroxychloroquine? It was
Wait, what?
Trump. Hydroxychloroquine, the drug that that the media is saying doesn't work. Don't use hydroxychloroquine. Donald Trump's bad. Stuff like that. Because he mentioned it and said it could be a possible cure. And then this lady who actually used hydroxychloroquine and saved over 300 people's lives, she's being called out, and they're just trying to discredit anyone who actually proves that this drug works, just because Donald Trump put it out there and he'd get credit.
I mean, I don't think again. I think he's handled it well. I don't think that I think he could have handled it better, especially with the protests, and especially with like at the start, not letting, doing all the immigrant policies that people do in the U.S. I think as bad as it would have been, I think it would have actually helped to not have the Chinese infiltrate. Like have some of the people come in and get sick. Even if they weren't unaware or weren't aware that they were sick, they still came into the country with the virus. I think that there should have been, a testing or something like that. I think that's partially why, we're upset with China, because they quarantined the whole country. Like no one could go anywhere except for other countries, if that makes sense. Like that's why no one likes the Chinese right now. Is literally because of that. I think that he should have done that, except he would have closed off the borders of the country as well. I think as much as this country is for free chance, what chance is there going to be if there's no one left in the country, if that makes sense, that hasn't been affected by this? Like I feel like if he had handled the protests, if he had handled the Black Lives Matter a little bit better, I know no justice, no peace. There's never going to be any justice that's fully comprehensible. And I think everyone knows that at this point. Like we're never going to have our justice where like no racism is in the country. Like There's always going to be racist. Like as bad as that is, there always is going to be racist. But I think he could have handled that situation a little bit better. Come harder on the person. Done a bit more of an investigation. Especially with the Minneapolis stuff. Like that whole state just went to garbage so quickly. Like I don't know if you saw it, but like the police would go by and just gas spray people when they weren't doing anything. Like it was just bad. Like I feel like it should have been handled way quicker. I think it should have been handled with more strict rules. Like I'm not saying he did a bad job. Like I don't know how anyone would react in that situation. I don't know if anyone would do better than he would do. But like I feel like as a person looking on the outside and just seeing all the chaos and being disgusted with the human race, I just wish he would have acted quicker and he would have acted with more force. Like he has the right to do it as the president of the United States. Like he's the person that's supposed to govern the police or govern the citizens and help the police, do their jobs properly. But, they just weren't doing their jobs. Like this police are there to protect us, not to hurt us. That's just my thoughts, I don't know if you look at it differently or if you have a different view. Do you want to say if you have a different view?
I mean, yeah, I somewhat do. I know that there is bad police, and
definitely.
I've met
just
bad
as much good police as there are bad police. That for every good police, there's going to be one. Like I don't think anyone's disagreeing, but I think the problem with the police now is the defunding them as much as it's like great to sound. To say
it's going to make more bad police.
It's not going to work. It's just not.
Yeah.
Like that's why people think that the good cops are like ignoring the bad cops. No, they hate the bad cops as much as we do. Like saying that that they're gonna be bad and stuff. Like
because
they're all bad.
Then they get labeled bad.
It's false. Yeah, they're not all bad. Some of the cops that I've met are like the nicest people that you'll ever meet. Like the stereotypical fat black cop is like the funnest dude on the street. Like he's the guy that's you just go up and like dap up with your elbow now, instead of like actually dapping him up. But like, like those people are like some of the nicest people you meet, It's like, it's the same issue with the gay people, like I'm not gay myself, but like I know some people who are, and they just get prosecuted just because of the fact that they're gay, Like these people are some of the nicest people that you'll ever meet. You know,
Oh
saying
yeah.
that, denying their right and denying their beliefs and denying, or in this case for the police, denying their abilities to protect. You know, like it's not going to do anyone good. It's just going to cause more harm, more hate, more issues, and a lot more of a headache for everyone. And
Yeah.
everyone's just going to be appalled by it. You know, like I feel like if you're a gay person, a black person, or a policeman in this country, this is the worst time to be that. You know, like because there's so many issues in this country right now. At this point, we're closer to destroying ourselves than we are to helping the world. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I also think that there is bad gay people as well as bad black people as well as bad cops.
Yeah, like the gay people who always throw that they're gay right up in your face over and over, or the
And
black
then,
people who constantly rob, you know, like who haven't found a way to fix themselves, or the policeman
yeah,
that, as we saw in the George Floyd case, literally hold a man to death, you know, strangle a man to death.
yeah. I think like the bad gay people are the ones who put put all their ideologies into children's head. Because I think children should be able to decide whether they're gay or not by
Yeah,
themselves. I mean, because then you'll have a bunch of children who are quotation marks gay whenever they actually aren't, and nothing's messed up in their head like that. And you know,
yeah.
the
So
biology
an example for that
is
would be like
normal.
SpongeBob. You know, like if people are now saying SpongeBob is gay when it's like he's literally a sponge. He's not gay.
Yeah, like
He's asexual. You know, like he's
exactly.
neither. You know, he's not gay or straight. He's asexual. You know.
Yeah,
It's like stop putting that in their heads. You know, it's like it's a kid show. Let them decide
yeah,
whatever they want to believe. If they want to believe SpongeBob's gay, let them decide that for themselves. You know, like we shouldn't
exactly.
influence them. You know, it's like come on now.
It just promotes these ideologies in their head, and I don't know, it messes up the next generation.
So like another issue with the political parties is the views on gunpoint. So I want to hear what you think. What do you think should be the gun rights? You know, like do you think that the Second Amendment should like still has a place in this country, especially in this time right now? You know, where everyone has a gun in Texas, seemingly, where they have, if you step on your yard, you're gonna get shot at. It seems, you know, because
Tell
that happens
me
a lot more than people think it does.
Tell me if you know what I mean by this. I should be able to own a tank if I wanted to.
Wait, are you saying that it's like any arms fires that like if I think that you're trying to like hit at the Second Amendment is like you think I think that you're trying to hint that like people are being unreasonable with their gun rights. You know, I think that's
Well,
what you mean.
I'm I'm telling you, I should be able to own a tank if I want to. I don't think the government should restrict the Second Amendment whatsoever. I think that it would make America a safer place.
But why would you want to own it? What good is going to come from you owning a tank? It's a tank.
I'm not. I'm just saying, if I wanted it, dude. If I had a bunch of land and I was actually rich, I would want to own a tank actually, and I'd shoot stuff and I'd have a bunch of fun. Like you would want to own a tank, I swear, wouldn't you?
Yeah, obviously I'd love to have a tank, but it's a tank. Why would I want to have a tank? Okay, we're getting up, but like I think that there should be gun rights, but I think it should be very strict on it. You know, you should. I remember saw some on like people of Walmart. I don't know if you saw that Reddit thread or if you know about that, but basically it was literally a guy. You remember in Happy Gilmore where it said "Guns don't kill people, I kill people." That shirt, the guy with that shirt on. Do you remember
Yeah.
that? The dude had that exact shirt on and he was buying a gun. It's like you should have to do a test to show that you are able to own a gun and that you will be safe with the gun, and you should have more strictness on what type of guns you should buy, like or what type of armory, weaponry, whatever you want to call it, like you should not be if as a US citizen, you should not be allowed to buy a tank. That is a government, vehicle that is used for as a weapon of destruction, like you should
Well,
not be allowed to own a tank. You should not be allowed to own a bomb. You should not be allowed to own a freaking machine gun. Like no one should be allowed those types of things. A bazooka, like you shouldn't be allowed those types of, a pistol, a blunted
I
shotgun.
I,
I
I
think
really
that
think
there should be a restriction on something about that. Like you shouldn't be allowed every single arm fire in the book. Like, you should not be able to buy an atomic bomb. Just like that.
well, yeah, for sure. And That's something I agree with. You shouldn't be able to buy an atomic bomb, but something that I disagree with is you said you should be able to own a machine gun, and I disagree with that. I think if someone, and also I think gun restrictions, there shouldn't be any gun restrictions, because if a criminal wants to kill someone, they're gonna get their hands on a gun, whether it's legal or not, and kill someone. And then if they're at the point where they're gonna kill someone, they must already have it on their record that they've done some crazy stuff in the past, because they're not just gonna be a normal citizen and then just go kill someone. So if they have stuff on their record from the past, they're not going to be able to go to the store and buy a gun. You have a felony, you can't buy a gun. No
But
matter
I
what.
think, like, regardless of what we do, yeah, you're right. The criminal is always going to be able to get the gun, regardless of what we do. But at the same time, like, if they're firing on us with the machine guns and we're firing on them with machine guns, like, how are we better than them? We're literally doing the exact thing that they're doing, which is purchasing a machine gun and firing it on someone and potentially taking multiple lives. Like,
Well,
I
if
feel
you
like,
take a murderer's life, you're not a bad person.
but you just ruined your own ruined your own conscience. Regardless if you say you're gonna have that thought for the rest of your life. I actually killed a person with the machine gun. It's like,
Dude.
I feel like in order to protect people's sanity, in order to protect people's lives, I think that there should be more strictness. I think that if you're a policeman and you're a store owner, or if you're someone who is at large for a robbery, for a gunpoint, I think you should have unlimited arms to that. I think that you should be allowed to get whatever you deem necessary to help protect you and your store and your family. But if you're an average person in the house, the odds of them picking your house is very, very small already. But imagine if you're in a neighborhood of like 100 people, you literally have a 1% chance that, this is the house I'm going to go and rob. Like, I feel like you shouldn't have to have a machine gun to feel safe. I feel like you should have other ways to feel safe, either like a dog or pets, and let an alarm. Next to a police station, having like an own gun, like a pistol or a shotgun.
I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Yeah, obviously you'd rather be safe than sorry and have a gun, but I don't think that you should be allowed every arm in the book, like I think there should be a limit, stuff that the government, like AK-47s, why the heck would I need an assault rifle? It's like, why would I want to get an assault
rifle? I'll tell you why. For hog hunting, I mean, we have an AK, we're actually building an AK-47 right now. It's AK-47s aren't machine guns like what it sounds like you think they are. It's a semi-automatic rifle, like a Mini 14, which a Mini 14 doesn't look scary, but it's the same thing as an AK-47.
But I think that if you have that, you should have like I think so let's put this in, like, in soccer, like, if you're gonna buy a player, you have the option to loan them in for 2 years, and then you either have an obligation to buy or you can give it back. I feel like that should be a situation with the guns. If you want to loan in a gun for like a hunting, like as you mentioned, a hunting scenario, you should be allowed to do that. But if you're building a gun from scratch, like anyone can build a machine gun. Like anyone can build a bazooka. The only issue is finding the ammo. And it doesn't take that much if you know how to get on the dark web. You can buy anything. Like, I feel like you shouldn't be allowed to do that without government, oversight. Like, if someone who is like, someone can pass the test, but still be like absolutely insane. We just don't know it. Like, I don't feel like those people should be able to touch a gun. Like, you have to prove to the psychologist that you are perfectly sane. It's like you have to get like hypnotized and people able to know. I feel like there should be a lot more restrictions if you're going to build a gun or if you're going to own a gun. Like, there should be government restrictions on both of those. Hunting.
I'll tell you why.
Fine. Like, I feel like if you have a bow and arrow, fine, whatever. Like, I think that's something that anyone should be able to own. If you know how to fire a bow and arrow, you should be able to own it. Like, that's just my.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you why I'm building my AK-47, and it's because I see the left in this country going further and further. They're attacking white people. They're attacking male people. They're attacking gun owners, and I'm worried that one day the government is going to try to take our guns away, and I'm not going to let that happen. That's why that's why I have my guns in the first place, because if they try to take my guns, I will use my guns to make sure they do not take them.
Yeah, you have the right to do that. You have the right to take arms against the government if you see that it is not serving you anymore. But that's the issue. What constitutes them not serving you anymore? Is it the fact that they're trying to take away your guns, or is it the fact that they're turning into a tyrannical system? Taking over or not serving you anymore has different connotations to everyone. To me, it's like, they're raising my taxes by an extortion amount, which I do not, as a Democrat, I do not agree with the tax rates. I do not think that should be a thing. Even though we make college free, the potential, like in Germany, it's like college is free, everyone can go to college. I think that should be something that is in this country, but I don't think at the cost of raising everything else and extortion and the prices, but that's my definition of this country is not serving me anymore. I need to protest about that in some way, shape, or form. That's my idea. But to you, it's take away guns. To someone else, it could literally be, the dude's not wearing a mask. Let's kill him.
Well,
that's the issue with this country. That's the issue with the Second Amendment is it's not precise. It's left open in interpretation. How do you think the government is not serving you anymore, and how do you take arms against it? That's the issue with it. If you have a machine gun, you're going to do a lot more damage on the random police officer than they are going to do on you, odds are, unless you absolutely have no clue what to fire at them.
Yeah.
If you have an AK-47, you automatically have a better weapon than a pistol, unless it's a Desert Eagle or something like that. You know what I mean? I feel like if there should be restrictions on that level. You should not be able to have a better arms fire than an actual policeman who is meant to protect the streets. That should not be a thing.
Well, that is a thing, and I'll tell you where it is a thing. It's a thing where criminals own those guns, and it's only there because no normal person who just wants to have a machine gun, say they have an illegal machine gun, they're not going to go try to kill a police with it. I mean, these guns are acquired, and
but what if a person acquires them from you? That's the issue with it. If you have a machine gun, it's liable to get stolen, or it's liable to get forced off of you.
That's true.
And then at that point, you're just trusting whatever deity you believe in, to save you at that point from not giving it to the wrong person. Maybe that person just had a terrible day and they need to own a machine gun for a day and they'll give it back to you. Maybe you get lucky, but at that point, you're just hoping that for the best, that machine gun doesn't end up killing hundreds of people like in Las Vegas, where it's like he had an assault rifle and just picking everyone off over and over and over and over. I feel
if you own a machine gun, you have to
Sniper. I meant sniper, but you know what I mean. If you have a gun that's capable of taking hundreds of people's lives or injuring hundreds of people and killing many more, you shouldn't be a citizen of the United States should not be allowed to have that ability to kill a person's life like that, other than a pistol. That makes sense if it's a pistol and it's killing someone, or a shotgun and it's killing someone. But to have an assault rifle, a machine gun, a bazooka, a sniper rifle, if you're not in the military, you should not have that ability. You shouldn't have something that's on the level of a military aspect.
What do you qualify as a sniper rifle? Because I have a deer rifle that is calibered in a 30-06, and it looks like a sniper rifle, but I think that's one of the most necessary guns, because if the government goes to crap, people are going to be able to need to live off their land and shoot deers and whatever they need to eat.
I constitute a sniper rifle as something with a serious scope that can shoot from up to 2 miles. That's my definition of a pure sniper rifle.
Yeah, so you mean something that has a really big caliber, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't mean like a deer hunting rifle. If you're deer hunting, fine, go ahead. I think there should be regulations. I think you should have a loan on that. If you want to hunt deer for 3 months, take a 3-month loan. You get the gun for free for 3 months, or you pay $10 for 3 months. And you get unlimited ammo, however much ammo you think you need, you get that amount of ammo. I feel like if you do that, fine, go ahead. You're hunting deer, you're in the wilderness, you're going to need some protection. Go ahead, have a deer hunting rifle. But if you have the ability to have something that's 50, 60 caliber, and you can hit someone from 30 miles away in the wind on the dead, you you should not be allowed to have that. No one should be allowed to have that, regardless of who. All right, but it's time to move on, Michael. We've been at this for like 40 minutes talking.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk FFA, my man. So first of
All
all, for those of you who don't know, Michael is in FFA. I think he mentioned that at the start. So Michael, could you give a brief overview of FFA?
FFA stands for Future Farmers of America, and you need to be in a agriculture class to join FFA.
So what classes are on offer very quickly? Can you go over some of the classes that you know of?
Yeah, there's equine science, and that's about horse science. You know, there's floral design, there's a bunch of, there's like science classes that are just science of all animals. There's
environmental science or something like that. Does that count?
Yeah, AP Environmental Science or something. That's what I'm taking next year, actually. And it's an ag class.
Yeah.
But it also counts as an AP Science class.
So you have to be in an agricultural class to do FFA?
Yes.
So what do you do in FFA, quite frankly? Like, I'm not in FFA, so I'm not going to speak on much on this. I'm going to take the view of the audience and be like the absolute noob that has to know everything. So what do you do in FFA?
I mean, so FFA, if you join FFA, it's because you want to raise a pig or a lamb or a cow or
a goat. Yeah.
Yeah, or other people raise chickens. They're called broilers, or turkeys or rabbits. And it's a good character building, I guess.
Exercise. Activity.
Yeah. And
so how do you believe? Do you think it builds character? How do you think it does that?
Well, I mean, whenever I have a lamb, I only have a lamb from like September to May, but or September to like February, I think. But I have to get up, earlier than I do already for school and feed my lamb, and then I have to be there. If you're dedicated, you have to be there and you have to work with your animal and you have to really care about it. And, some people are there, 4 times a day. You only have to be there 2 times to feed.
Yeah.
And these people I see there 4 times a day, they're the best people I know, really. They're like super dedicated, and they have jobs too that they have to be at. And they pay for all their animal stuff, and it's just a really good group of people also.
So do you think that raising an animal would be a good way to determine if you're capable, not just of like raising another creature, like a pet or something, but like being a good friend, being a good brother, heck, even being a good parent? Do you think that's a good indicator of how good you are at that job, of raising something? Do you think that raising a pet could be a stepping stone for some people, to be a better brother, to be a better friend, better sister, better mother or father in the future? Do you think that is the gateway?
It makes you a better person all around. I mean, I just, because you just have to be dedicated and you have to put in hard work. And a lot of other people don't do that because they're not in FFA, and I know, like, there's different activities. I was in marching band, but I did not learn near as much from marching band as I did in FFA.
So could you go through the day of an FFA person? So, like, just go through an average day, like a free day for you of FFA, like where it's your only thought is, I got to take care of my pig, cow, goat, whatever you raise.
Well, in the morning, I'd wake up.
What time do you wake up?
Well, I usually, like, if it's during school year, so it's on like a feeding schedule where I feed it around 7 a.m. or something. But I'm on, but then you would get up, you'd walk it around, you'd work with it. And these animals are super stubborn. I mean, they have a pea brain. They don't really know anything. And you have to teach them how to stand and how to walk with you and all this stuff. And you have to make them practically like a dog, And And then people have to at least once a week, you'd be driving to the feed store, which is over on 2978, which, a 30-minute drive or something like that. And you pick up feed at least, and you'd have to pick up shavings and all this other stuff. You have to take care of your pen along with your animal. There's just a lot of stuff that goes with it.
So could you detail the process of trying to train, basically to make your goat, cow, dog, or pig, whatever you raise? Could you go through the process? Like, what did you have to do to make them like a dog, to make them ready for, I presume, a show? I think that's what you have to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Treyway the goat, or Treyway the cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you detail the process for those people who don't, like me, don't know what you have to do? Like, what did you do, like, specifically to help raise Treyway to be, capable of doing this?
So at the beginning, you have a halter, which is like a leash for a lamb, and it hates that thing, and you have to put it on its head, and it won't even get near you whenever you get in its pen. It'll go to the other side. So you have to,
coerce it?
For a couple weeks, you literally sit in your pen, just getting to know your animal, and slowly they'll come up and, sniff you or whatever. If you make any movements, they'll run away. But eventually you start trying to halter break them. You put them on the halter, and they're super stubborn. They're jumping everywhere, but you just drag them wherever you want to go. And once you drag them enough, they just give up and they start walking with you, and their halter broken. And so then you can take your animal where you need to take it. So you'd go to, at least once a week, I'd go weigh my animal on the scale that they have at the barn. And then at least twice a week, I'd use there's a treadmill for lambs and goats that you put them in, and you speed it up or slow it down or whatever. You make them use the treadmill. You make them go backwards on the treadmill too, so they're really comfortable with their leg movements. And then once they're really comfortable with that, you always work them on the treadmill because they need to stay lean and muscular.
Basically.
Yeah. And then once, you're coming around show, you need to start working on showing it and setting it up, which means, putting it in front of you, making it, lean back and show all of its muscles by itself. And, that's the gist of it, I guess.
So is there any tips and tricks that you recommend? If someone was to do FFA, what would be a tip or trick you would give, to help get the trust of the animal, to help the animal do the routine easier, to help, speed along the process? What would be a tip or trick that you'd recommend? Or tips or tricks that you'd recommend to do?
The number one thing really is just spending time with your animal. Because once you develop a relationship with them, and they end up liking you, and you have this relationship with them, they'll walk with you whether you have a halter or not. And if you spend enough time with them,
they're gonna, eventually you're gonna earn their trust eventually.
Yeah, and just the more time you spend with them, it just makes them work better with you. So
do you think that the specific type of animal affects how you train them, or do you think that every animal should be trained the same?
Well, no, the specific type of animal definitely affects that.
So could you go into detail on how a lamb would differ from a goat, or how a goat would differ from a pig?
So lambs and goats differ because goats are more just they're smaller, and they're more of a puppy dog. Lambs are dumber and more skittish. And whenever you get a goat, you can touch it immediately and pick it up, and it'll nearly walk with you immediately. And then with a pig, with a pig, all you have to do is just work on walking it and getting it fat and strong, but only fat.
So,
I don't know.
do you think that for a smaller person that something like a goat would be better than something like a lamb? Do you think that the size of the person should be taken into account for the size of the animal? Or do you think that you can be allowed to raise like a cow, a horse, or a lamb or a pig, or do you think that that should be a thing that you should take into account if you're going to do it?
Well, I mean, there was a 5 foot tall freshman who raised a cow this year, and the cow was probably 10 times its weight at the end of it.
Dang.
But he handled that cow, made it move around, made it his cow, and that cow knew it. Cow
knew it. Well,
that cow knew it.
Yeah.
But but in the past, while picking our lambs, I've seen smaller girls especially pick smaller lambs. That doesn't mean that they're worse lambs, but just smaller lambs, still with good bone structure and muscles, but they're just easier to handle. And I've always had big lambs, and they even, I'm like 140 pounds, and they still move me around pretty good.
So do you think that this could, if you're going to be an FFA, it should be a hobby, or do you think if you're going to be an FFA, it should be, a full-time, I'm paying attention to this thing all the time, or do you think that, it should just be, I have a pig, that's cool?
Well, if you're one of those people who just say, I have a pig, that's cool, I don't think you should be an FFA, because you don't deserve to. I mean, you're not dedicated enough, and you don't deserve that pig. That's a living pig right there that needs at least some time with you. And
yeah, obviously. But do you think if you take care of the pig, but it's more of just a secondary thing? So for me, if I were to do FFA, it would be a secondary thing. Since I'm in DECA, I would put DECA over FFA. I would still spend time with the pig, obviously. You can't do that and not spend time with the pig. But do you think if you're in something else that you put it over FFA, do you think that you should still be an FFA, or do you think that you should not just do it?
No, I don't think. I think if you were gonna put some other school activity over FFA, I don't think you should do it. I was in my sophomore year of high school. I was in marching band and FFA raising a lamb, and I would have to tell my band directors sometimes, hey, I have to leave this competition early because I have to go pick out my lamb. I have to go. It's a work day at the barn. We have to clean up. I can't go to practice today. And my band directors would work with me because they know themselves that it's more important
than the actual band, because you're raising a literal living animal,
exactly.
Regardless of what people think, you're literally raising something, to do some purpose in life, other than eat, sleep, and then take a dump everywhere. You're raising it to be a better animal in their animal society. At the end of the day, I think this is, as someone who's an outsider to FFA, I've seen the people who are passionate about FFA. They are pretty passionate. These people care about these animals, and they probably can make a career out of either raising a farm animal or being a veterinarian for these types of animals.
Yeah.
People care about these animals. I think if you don't care about your animal, maybe not as much as them, because there are some crazy people who care, they're diehard, but if you care about the animal, you should do it. If you don't care about the animal as much as something else, I don't think you should do it. That's just my personal opinion. I'm sure you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So do you think that if you're an FFA, that you could actually if you are well trained enough that you could eventually own your own farm, or do you think that that's a little bit too high of a step and that you should try and do other animals? For you, do you try and do different animals, or do you just stick to one animal?
There's a lot of people do it. There's some people who just raise lambs. They've raised lambs their whole high school. Some people have multiple lambs at the same time too. And there's people who just raise pigs. I think the first animal that you pick, you're probably going to end up doing the rest of your high school career.
Why is that?
Multiple animals. You kind of just,
Grow attached to the breed? That makes sense?
yeah, I think so. And I mean, I've had lambs, right? But I was thinking about having a lamb and a goat, or a lamb and a pig this year, or just a pig, or just a goat. But I went with just a lamb because, I mean, I don't know. You find out what you like so much about it and what you dislike about the other ones. Like, I don't want to have a goat because it's not as hard of work as the lamb. Like, that lamb is bucking everywhere trying to get loose. And I don't want to have a pig because their stalls are just a mess.
What about cows?
I would have a cow, but so this year, our ag teacher didn't tell us in time to get a cow. You have to get a cow like in May instead of in the next school year.
Why is that?
Because since they take longer to grow, you just have to raise them longer, and then you show them at different shows too. So you like show them from like May to May the next year.
Oh. So do you think that, as a person, as you just mentioned, that you want to work hard, do you think that if you were to raise a farm, you would only have lambs, or do you think that, FFA has opened your eyes that you would be willing to try other animals, even though it might not be as hard, you would be willing to try? Or do you think that,
I mean,
if you're an FFA and you stick to one animal, that you're never going to raise another animal like that,
I only didn't do multiple animals just because I didn't want all that on my plate. I would have done a lamb and a cow, but and that would have been a lot of work, but I would have done it, but I just wasn't able to. I think, like, if I were to own a farm, I'd have every single farm animal you could have, because I'd want to have as much as I could, But,
yeah. Wait, hold up. I gotta go get my clothes out of the dryer this time. Hold up.
All right.
All right, we're back. Mike, are you still there? Michael.
Hey, my bad. Here, let me go close my door real quick.
Well, I can't see it. Okay, there you go.
All right, there we go. I'm back.
All right, we're back. Oh, where were we? We were talking about FFA and raising other animals. So do you think, if you're going to raise another animal, if you were to raise multiple animals, that it's going to be harder than, raising multiple animals of the same species? Or do you think that if you're going to raise two different animals, it's going to be the same experience?
Well, it's not going to be the same experience because if you have, say, if I had two lambs, and I know people have had two lambs, you're in the same pen, you use the same feed, you just have to buy double, and then you use the same techniques to make them learn. And if you have two different animals, you're going to have, especially if you have a cow, because a cow is the work of two small animals, then you're going to have that different feed for that animal. You're going to probably have to put different things in the bottom of their pen. And it'd be different than just having two of the same species.
Wow, I didn't think we'd actually. Dang, dude, we've been doing this for like an hour, basically. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's been a while.
All right. Is there anything else that you got on your, do you want to go on any rants on anything?
Not really. I don't have too much to talk about FFA, really. I mean, it's just like, yeah, I'm a country boy. I like to raise a lamb. Yep. I don't know.
All right. So I got nothing else on the docket. I mean, we could talk, being raised to bud, but I guess if we want to do another episode, that'll probably be another thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool with me.
All right. So that will conclude this episode of In the Zone. Thank you to Michael on that side for participating.
Thank you, Nick.
Is there anything else you'd want to, say to the audience?
No, not really. I mean, thanks for listening to us today. And keep listening to Nick's podcasts.
All right, that's the good stuff. Ow, I don't know if you heard that. I just hit my toe against the the table that I'm on against. All right, so thank you guys for watching, and see ya.